different stuff these days.
Lynn Ramsey, Pavel Pavlikovsky. I mean, Michael Winterbottom, I'm not a massive fan of his work, but you know, he makes a film every sort of 8 or 9 months, and in his own right, I think he makes a few too many to make loads of quality ones, but he makes good films. I'm just trying to think of, there's a local guy in Nottingham, Chris Cook, who's just made his first feature called One for the Road, and he's got a lot of ability. And I don't know, because I don't live in London, I don't know everyone that's coming out there, but I don't know, the stuff that I've actually seen, the gangster thing, and there seems to be a lot of people into that sort of thing, and very few regional voices. You know, Pavel came over from Poland, and Lynn Ramsey comes from Scotland. It seems like the important people haven't been.
Students here that have seen that catching.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the film, but I think that doesn't mean I don't respect her as a filmmaker, because I think she's making films for herself rather than for money, you know, and there's not many people doing that in this country at the moment.
Do you get annoyed when you see posh boys like Matthew Bourne still trying to make a gangster film? I mean, the hype about Layer Cake at the moment. Or do you just
Layer Cake looks a bit more interesting than the others because it seems to be the older boys, you know, rather than that. I mean, it's not that I don't like Lock, Stock and things like that. It's just I saw the impact it had when everyone suddenly had a gangster film up their sleeve, and everyone, you know, there was millions of them got made, and they were awful, and it single-handedly seemed to bring the industry to its knees. And everyone thought the British film industry was a load of crap gangster films. You know, and I've suffered at the hands of the press. When I made my first film, you're hailed as a genius, and everyone that comes through is seen as the saviour of British cinema. And then you slip once, and then you like put to the back of the queue, and like Lynn Ramsey or Pavel Pavlikovsky is, and the nature of the press. You know, if you go to somewhere like France, they manage to sustain. They bring in the bigger films, but they do sustain their own filmmakers. And you go to Southern Ireland, and like if you're a creative person in Southern Ireland, you actually don't get taxed on any of your earnings. You know, and it's like, you know, I lose about 80% of my tiny wages in it. You know, it's like it's really difficult to. It's just not. We haven't got a creative. There's no creative thinking in the government whatsoever. They just see it as work, and that you should. You know, it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't breathe. Whereas you go to France and 8-year-old kids are riding scooters and drinking red wine, smoking J's and that, and it's like, you know, it's just there's something about this country that just doesn't seem to. It's not accepted, and it certainly wasn't accepted in working class areas where I was from.
But on the other hand, you couldn't leave it, could you?
No, of course, because
that's where you draw.
It's the brush of everything. But I think the point is that a lot less people seem to come out. There are probably, like the girl was saying over there, there's probably really talented people packing biscuits, you know, and that's the crime, you know. That.
Would you spend that lottery money on lots and lots of smaller projects then, basically?
I think if you had £1 million, if you think like £8 million could have, I would take that £8 million and I'd put £1 million into like these new filmmaker awards that are out there. I've applied for them when I hadn't made anything, and they're like, well, you know, what have you made? And you're like, is it not called new directors? And they're like, yeah, but what have you made? You know, we can't just give you money without knowing that you can do it. And you're like, well, I missed the point then. And you have to use one of their producers, and they want to give you a professional crew.
And a writer.
Yeah, it's actually setting up funds that are genuinely for new directors and new people. And there's a guy in Nottingham, really strange guy. He's in his 40s who lives with his mum, and he looks like a sex pest. He's got massive curly ginger hair and big glasses, and you wouldn't trust your kids with him. He made this short film, this horror movie, and he did all the effects in it himself. And it's basically it's called Pure Evil. And it's about this meteorite that comes down from space, and wherever it lands or anyone that walks past it suddenly like goes dead weird and starts killing people. And he made it and applied for this fund, and these people watched it, were crying with laughter and said it's the best funny horror they'd ever seen. And they called him in for this thing and said, we've agreed to give you £17,000 to make a proper version of it, because it had us all in stitches, you know. And he was like, what do you mean, stitches? And she said, oh, it's hilarious. He was like, that's my life's work. He said, it's serious, it's totally serious. What wouldn't be like money? And he wouldn't accept the money. He was that gutted, and I would want to. And the effects, the stories, because Graham, the guy that helped me, has seen something in this guy, and he's kind of helping him to make this film. And like the meteorite is a baked potato with a torch under it and like a heap of cow shit. But it goes way beyond that. He takes on far too challenging things, because the film, I would love to give him 50 grand and get Graham to just go along and say, make a feature film with this guy, but film everything that's going on, because he tried to make a 40-foot cellar where blood would come seeping through the walls and all the walls fall away. He has these great ideas, but he can't carry them out. And it's like, and so he spends all day trying to keep these bits of wall up, and then he's got like 3 tins of tomato soup for blood, and Graham just says it's just something to behold, to watch it. And I'm inspired by people like that. It's not just a case of thinking we want 10 people with the same talent or ability. I hear a story like that and I think there's a feature film in there, because he doesn't know it's funny. That's what makes it great. And I've seen the film and it is absolutely brilliant because he doesn't know it's funny. Just pure evil potato wandering around killing everyone.
Reflecting the films we've seen, particularly the two there in the one about the 3, not the last one, the 2 previous to the
What, the one about the wrestler guy?
yeah, and the one about
the footballer guy.
Yeah, they have that element on it where you've got this guy, these people who you've obviously got a lot of time for.
Yeah.
It's obvious that you've got a lot of time for.
For sure. They don't know how daft they are, because it's like Paddy in the first one, that one almost, you don't know whether you are meant to be laughing at that first one, because it's almost unrecognisable as Paddy. And that's the lovely thing, is like it's not playing things for laughs. If someone's funny, I find people funny that don't know they're funny. It's one of them. And that's how I've always been, it's like, I'm not one for gags, I don't like stand-up comedians because they're there trying to make you laugh. Whereas this guy with big hair and that, the brilliant story with that guy was that the lead actress, he had her on a piece of rope and he wanted her to be pulled through a field, and she was going, well, I'm not doing that. And she got him on a car bonnet. He got her on a car bonnet, and they tried it once, and it ended up like the car went off the wrong way. She went through a big nettle patch, and she walked off the film. And she was about 6'1", quite a pretty girl with long blonde hair. And his mum apparently is like that thing out of Don't Look Now. It's like thinking about that big with a red coat on, and like, and they finished the other 40% of the film with her as the woman, his mum. And so there's, like Alan Partridge is just the back of this little thing, putting her on boxes and that. So it was just, and I hear about that and I just think that's just class, because you couldn't, if it was me, I would like, you'd try and find a genuine replacement. He just rang his mum, and she walked, this dwarf person.